Hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
What? Well, let me roll up onto the sidewalk and take a look. Yes. Whoa! She's beautiful. I'm talking about a Yankee Rose. And she looks wild. 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 Are you ready for the new sensation? Well, here's a shot heard round the world. All you bathroom boys salute when her flag unfurls. Well, guess who's back in circulation? Now, I don't know what you may have heard, but what I need right now is the original Good Time Girl. She's a vision from coast to coast to coast. See the shining sea. Hey, sister, you're the perfect toast. Show me your bright light in your city lights. Alright, I'm talking about the Yankee Rose. Bright light in your city lights. Alright, I'm talking about it. When she walks, watch the sparks will fly. Fire cracking on the 4th of July. No sad songs tonight. Something's in the air. You can feel it, can't you? We'll stay our independence. So pretty when her rockets flare. Still proving any night that her flag's still there. She's a vision from coast to coast. Coast to coast. See the shining sea. Hey, sister, you're the perfect toast. Make a toast. Show me your bright light in your city lights. Alright, I'm talking about the Yankee Rose. Your bright light in your city lights. Alright, I'm in love with the Yankee Rose. She's beautiful, all right. Nothing like her in the whole world. Yeah. She's right on time. I'm on the case. Pick up the phone. No time to waste. She got the beat. And here's a little bit coming your way. Raise them up there. Let's see who salutes, baby. Little bit higher. Here's the national anthem here. I'm gonna get a little bit of apple pie.
All right, welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is Sunday, May 25th, 2025, and to all my friends here in the USA, a happy Memorial Day weekend. This is the weekend that we remember all the soldiers who gave their lives for us in those battles over the years. It's a sad weekend, but a lot of people barbecue and party and have a good time, and that's what we're going to try to do here on this show. And right there, David Lee Roth with Yankee Rose. You know, it's funny. I'm not a David Lee Roth fan at all. I'm not a Van Halen fan at all. And people like that sacrilegious. How can you not like Van Halen? I'm not taking away anything from their talent or their success. I just never could get into them. I was always into the harder and heavier stuff, you know. So Van Halen never did anything for me. Alice Cooper, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC. You know, a lot of those bands. Like I think I bought one record by each of those bands back in the 70s or the 80s just to say I had one in my collection. But I was never a fan of that stuff. You know, I started out with Black Sabbath in the mid 70s when my older cousins would play them, and I got into that. Then it led me to Kiss in the mid 70s, and from there it just took off with the new wave of British heavy metal and the underground scene here in the USA. But like I said, I don't take nothing away from these guys. Just not the biggest fan of their music. But 35 years before I retired 2 years ago, working the night shift for Con Edison in the city. In those nights in May when we finally start transitioning from the cold weather to the nice weather. And WNEW was like the rock station here in New York back then, and they would always play this song around May, around the Memorial Day weekend. It just made me feel like the summer was finally coming. After working in the streets in the freezing winter, it finally got cold. If the cold finally turned to warm, and they would play the song. So I started doing it on the show here when I started about 17, 18 years ago. But that's the only reason we played David Lee Roth once a year, or anything even associated with Van Halen, which it really isn't. It's a solo record. But there you go. Hey, we got a great show for everybody tonight. Nige Rockett from Onslaught is our first guest. Phil Barbour from Spellbound. They have a record coming out on Heaven and Hell Records. Our good friend Jeremy released this album. I think there might be more from these guys, so we'll talk to Phil all about that in the second half of the show. First, we're going to get to Nige in about 20 minutes or so. I lost a dear friend this week and a good friend of the show. Joe Leonard from Frigid Bitch passed away. He's been battling some health issues over the years, and finally got him. And Joe was such a sweet guy, such a good guy. I saw Frigid Bitch countless times in the 80s when they were playing, and I was lucky enough to be there at the reunion show in 2017 at the Defenders of All Festival in Brooklyn, and I finally got to meet, Joe in person. Joe's been on the show multiple times over the years, back in the early days when the band was just getting back together and reuniting, and he was a great guy, a kind-hearted man, and he's going to be missed. So how about we play some Frigid Bitch for Joe? Here's Metal on Denim on Leather.
Rolling? Hold on.
All right, that set was all over the place. What a mixed bag of nuts that was. Sad Iron with We Came to Kill. That was a really good record, the Antichrist record from 1985, but the production was horrible. I mean, absolutely horrible on the Antichrist. Chapter 2, The Deal, was the newest record they put out, 2019, the last record they put out, I should say. I mean, they were broken up for decades in between those two albums. That's a good sounding record, and I wish they would redo the Antichrist or remaster it, give it a new life. Before that, Medieval Steel with Battle Beyond the Stars. Some Italian hardcore with Raw Power and State Oppression. I always wanted to see those guys back in the 80s. It just never happened. They never came around. You know, it was difficult back then. But I did get to see them, many years ago. So I was happy about that. And we kick things off for a tribute to my good friend Joe Leonard from Frigid Bitch, who passed away this week. Metal on Denim on Leather. There you go. All right, we're going to get to our first interview with Nige Rockett in about 10 minutes. So we'll play a couple of more tunes between now and then. I find it funny that Eric Grunwald had to leave Skid Row because it was too grueling, the tour schedule, and it wasn't good for his health. But since he left the band, he's been out on the road nonstop with Michael Schenker. Now he's out there with Heat. He's played with other bands and done other shows. So it must just be a Skid Row thing. Can that be it? Considering how many singles they've gone through over the last few years, I think it's more of a Skid Row thing than an Eric thing, but it is what it is. And what I'm excited about is Abaddon just says that he's almost done writing his book. I forgot what the name of the book was. I think it was View from the Metal Throne or something. So that should be coming out hopefully by the end of this year. I'm looking forward to that. There are actually no books about Venom at all out there. None by the band members. I know when we had Mantis on 2 years ago, he said he was working on his and putting it together. So really, I guess that hasn't gone. I mean, he's had a lot of health issues too. He's had another heart attack since then. His wife has been sick. So, that kind of takes a back seat. But hopefully he'll get that going again and get it out there. And now we need one from Kronos. So it's just like when Kiss put out books. They'll put out autobiographies and you get to read them all, compare like who's talking about who, about the same story and 4 different versions of the same incident that happened. I'm looking forward to that with Venom. It should be good because those guys hate each other so much. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of shit talking in those books when they come out, but we'll have to wait on that one and see. It'll be a little while. All right, let me see. What can we do next? Torch have a brand new song out called Trail of the Damned. They're going to play it. It's not a bad song, but if you played this song and said, who is it? You would never say Torch. I mean, Dan Dark is definitely missed vocally, from the band when you listen to this song. His voice was so defining to the sound of that band that without him, there's something missing there. But it's not a bad tune, but like I said, if I played it for you, you would never think it was Torch. So let's get it on for everybody right now. Torch, Trail of the Damned.
Trail
right, Christian wanted to hear Metallica's Hollow Winds Echo. There you go, Christian. That's for you. We're gonna get the Nige Rockett now. We'll play something. They have a brand new record coming out called Origins of Aggression. It's a double record, double CD, whichever you pick up. First one is a bunch of re-recorded tracks from all of the '80s albums. They grabbed a couple of tunes off each record, re-recorded them with the new lineup and new singer. And the second album is a bunch of cover songs based on things that influenced the band and stuff they went to in the early days. So we're gonna play the re-recorded versions of a couple of songs. Then we'll talk to Nige, and then we're gonna get to Phil Barbour from Spellbound after that. So sit back and relax.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, Nige, it's Mike. How are you?
Hi, Mike. I'm good, thank you. And
Uh,
yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm talking to you today. How bad can I be?
What was that, sorry?
I said I'm talking to you. How bad can this day be?
Cool, man. Thank you.
Listen, a big fan. I go back with you the whole 40 plus years, and this new record, Origins of Aggression. I mean, it really tells everybody where the band came from musically. When you listen to these songs that you kind of picked out for the cover
Yeah.
tracks, I mean, what a great job you did in this album.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I mean, it was we're super stoked with how it's come out, and the response has been incredible. I couldn't believe it, really.
Yeah.
The original plan was to just do a straight re-record of Power from Hell, to celebrate the 40 years of its release. But had a few conversations with some important people who are also big Onslaught fans. Kind of talked me out of it a little bit. I looked around. I thought, well, yes, maybe it's not the most original idea to just do a re-record of that album in particular. And I know a lot of the fans kind of may not be too keen on that, So we thought, let's do something a little different, and basically tell a story of the band, where we came from, the conception and the inspirations that led up to making that Power from Hell album. And that was the kind of thought process behind it. And we felt, rather than re-record the whole album, let's do tracks, maybe the first 2 tracks that we wrote for Onslaught, right up to tracks from In Search of Sanity in 1989. So you got that journey of the first series of Onslaught, if you like, with all the cover versions on the other disc.
When you re-record an entire record, especially a classic record like, Power from Hell, I mean, Manowar did that with the first record, Exodus did it. It's hit or miss. The old school fans they've grown so accustomed to those songs the way they are over 30, 40, 50 years. They don't want to hear it a different way. But I get it as an artist. You were in a certain place in time back then. Money's always an issue for a young band starting out, trying to record music. The technology that we have today wasn't there back then. The ability to make a better product wasn't there. So I get wanting to go back in and kind of fix things up that you weren't happy with. But I'm glad that you just kind of picked and choose over the records from the 80s, like certain songs. So I know with the Search for Insanity, that was an album you definitely wanted to redo some songs on, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, I think I've made it clear that it wasn't my favorite Onslaught album from the catalog, But as much as I say that, I love the songs on the album. It's just the way it turned out and the whole charade with the record company at the time. It took the gloss off of that record for me. And they turned it into the album that they wanted, not the album that the band wanted. I think they were looking for Onslaught to be the UK version of Metallica, but only willing to give us one album to do that instead of developing our career. And that was never going to work. As successful as the album was, I personally didn't like it. And I know it was quite divisive with Onslaught fans as well. We gained a lot of new fans, but we kind of lost some of the older school fans because it was too slick, too polished, and really not aggressive style Onslaught record.
It did have some great songs on there, and you went back now and you redid a few of them. I mean, how do you feel about it now? Is this the way you might have wanted it to be? I know there was a demo done with Psy on, the original cut of that record. So is this more like in vein of what you did with Psy back then, or is it even different than those two versions?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously got a 2025 mix, but yeah, I mean, the original versions on the demos they were more of a natural progression from the Force album. They were much more aggressive, heavier, and I think the mixes on the original, the recorded, released version of Sanity were just too slick, and the guitars weren't heavy enough, and the fact that the label wanted to change the vocalist as well, it gave us a totally different vibe of a band altogether. And as I said, it was a very successful album for us, but it was also the album that kind of broke up the band in the end, because of the things that happened. It just took all the fun out of music, if you like.
So, most people think when bands break up, it's always because the members aren't getting along, they're fighting with each other. And that happens in any relationship, whether you're friends, a band, or you're
Yeah.
married. You never get along. But more often than not, it's because of something on the outside that the band just can't deal with anymore. And like you said, it could be management, it could be a record label trying to force the band to sound different than they are. And I guess everybody hits a breaking point, and that must have been the breaking point for the band around 1991.
Yeah, I mean, it was played a major part for sure, because I think Steve Grimmett had left the band within a year of joining, or within a year of the release of the album, which wasn't great. He went on to do something solo for himself. We got a new vocalist in. We had record deal offers, but nothing felt right anymore. It just didn't have that fun. And we went out on a 42-date tour in UK and Europe, and it was hard work. It wasn't that enjoyment anymore, So that was a big sign. And then along came the grunge thing and just stamped on thrash metal in particular really hard, So we had the culmination of what happened with the label, Steve Grimmett leaving, and this new genre of music coming on, which hit us hard, and that it just took all the pleasure out of music,
Yeah, that's what happens. But when you did come back with Killing Peace, the first record in over a decade, and you came back harder and heavier than ever, I thought. Each record since that time has just gotten even heavier and even faster, even harder. And, with Generation Antichrist, David joined the band, first record with the group. I think he's done an amazing job, and he really shows his skills on Origins of Aggression. And considering that the last couple of years were really hard for you, physically, you've had a lot going on, your medical issues and stuff like that. I mean, I think you really kind of stepped up, taking over the guitar a little bit and singing. It's been an incredible run over the last 5 years when you think about it, especially with you being down for a couple of those years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, we released Generation Antichrist during lockdown and recorded a lot of it during lockdown as well. We made a conscious decision to deliberately release at that time. And it paid off for us, really. I mean, not too many bands were releasing. I think Testament released an album during lockdown and Lamb of God, but not many other bands were doing that. So it was a kind of window of opportunity in this kind of really tough time. And it gained us a lot of exposure. I think I'd done over 200 interviews for that album. Everybody was indoors. Everybody wanted some new to listen to or something to listen to. So the exposure was immense. And it really gave us a huge boost on that album. It's so successful. Then, unfortunately for me, I had some health issues and had to step back for a little while. But the guys did an absolutely amazing job of carrying the band forward and upwards as well, actually, in my absence. So I'm just getting back on my feet now. I started live shows at the beginning of the year on the 70,000 Tons cruise. And just easing back in, and now we've got this tour coming up, which hopefully is going to help me get a lot more fitness back. So it's been a lot of ups and downs over the last 5 years, but there's a little light at the end of the tunnel.
I'm happy for that. I'm glad you're back out there playing live again. Was it a difficult decision? I mean, this is your livelihood. This is your band. This is your baby for 40 something years. When you know that you can't participate because you got to get better first, you got to heal yourself. Is it different? Anybody can say, well, you know what? The band's put on hold until I'm ready, ready to get back to it and do it again. Or I'm going to let the band go out there, continue playing and keeping the name of the band out there. It had to be a hard decision to make. And especially when you're sitting on the sidelines and you're watching and you want to participate, you want to get out there with your band, but you just physically can't at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard. I mean, especially after the success of Generation Antichrist, to see the band going up, which we've all been working for, and then to have to think about letting it lose all the momentum we've gained from that release, it seemed very silly and selfish to stop that. So luckily Dave is a guitarist as well, so he took over my parts and doing his own vocals, which was amazing, and kept the band going. And they played some amazing shows over the period I wasn't there, and I still think it was, the band kept rolling, the machine kept going on, and it didn't really do too much damage. Obviously, me not being there wasn't great for me personally, and maybe some of the fans, but things happen, and we have to get over that. And we've done that now. We've come back with this new album. I'm back in the band now, so hopefully things can push on again. The response to this album has been amazing, so who knows where it's going to take us this time.
True. And, it's a double record. One is, like we were saying, for one side is a bunch of re-recorded versions of your tracks from the 80s. Then the other song is kind of like a mix of music that I guess influenced the band in their earlier stages, GPH, Motorhead, a lot of different stuff on there. With the tracks that were re-recorded, even though the old tracks, the familiar tracks, they sound new. They sound fresh. They sound like it's a different take on something familiar. I think that's kind of hard to do, where you could keep the song sounding like the original version, but yet make it sound a little different. And you did that with these songs.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, much appreciated. Yeah, we play most of these songs live still, so they're very, very fresh in our minds, very confident to playing those tracks. And for me, it was nice to hear those tracks from the very first two tracks I wrote for the band up until the In Search of Sanity tracks, to hear them with a cohesive sound on one record. So I can sit back and listen to the best of Onslaught from 82 to 89 with that really good sound, instead of listening to Power from Hell, which sounds a little dark and dirty, then the improved sound of The Force, and then the Onslaught light of In Search of Sanity, But now every track's got its place on that album, and they all sound cohesive. So for me, to hear that is fantastic, to hear those songs come together like that.
Yeah, they are very cohesive. Were there any tracks on there that you picked that you always wanted to go back to and maybe change something or touch something up that you weren't happy about from the original time you recorded it?
Yeah, it's Shell Shock and In Search of Sanity, of course, from that album, which was, I love the two versions of what were on the Origins album. they're much heavier, much more aggressive. We fine-tuned them a little bit. James's drumming's different level on those tracks. So for me, those are the two top tracks on that disc for me personally. All the others sound great, and it's so nice to hear the very first two songs I recorded to this level as well. So basically the first two tracks and the last two tracks are the ones that mean the most to me hearing them nowadays.
True. You know, the band came out in 80, I think around 81, 82, somewhere in that time frame. You know better than me. You were there, but it was around 82. And, you know, you're coming out of the punk scene of the UK at that point in time. Metal was starting to make a little bit of a rise. There was that whole movement from the new wave of British heavy metal, Iron Maiden, Saxon, you know, Def Leppard, three different bands with three different sounds. And you guys come out and you take something that's really kind of unheard of around that time. You know, it was down, it was dirty, it was grungy, it was heavy, it was fast. I mean, where did that all come from? Was it mostly the punk influence that the band had in them that kind of made it into the sound that it was?
Yeah, I think the majority of it was, but it was kind of weird because we're playing on the tours at the moment, a majority of the Power from Hell album, playing 80% of the tracks from there. So I had to go back and obviously relearn all that because I've not played them for many, many years. I can't even think how long ago. But when I started relearning this stuff, it was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And I started to really hear the Motorhead influence there. It may not be obvious to the listener maybe, but as they were a big influence on me back then, I could really hear like subtle things like the key changes, what Motorhead did that I'd incorporated in our songs. I mean, Power from Hell doesn't sound anything remotely like Motorhead, but you start to notice those little key changes and the little phrases that were kind of the Motorhead influence in there. So it was a nice surprise really, because as I said, I've not listened for that for so long, but kind of I thought, yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm happy with that, and it started to grow on me then, and now we've been playing it. So really enjoying playing some of those songs.
Yeah. You know, it's people that kind of create and invent stuff, you know, they kind of get forgotten about over the years because other bands come out at a time when what you were doing is more relevant and more popular. And there's like, oh, look at, you know, look what Metallica's doing. But you guys are doing it just the same as Metallica. We're at the same stage. It's just that, you know, we didn't have the internet back then. So people could live one town away from you doing the same thing you were doing. You would never even know it because we just didn't have that technology. So what you guys are doing was so new and so original at the time. And years later, more bands came around that started imitating and copying that sound. But you never really copied anybody. You just kind of created this on your own through the things that you were listening to. So, you know, you mix metal, you mix punk together, you can get Warfare, or you can get Onslaught, two different bands with two different sounds.
Yeah.
But you guys are so much heavier.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I mean, I still follow that principle now, and still, I think on the Generation Antichrist album, I think I used 2 or 3 riffs that I'd found or pinched from other songs that I'd written back in 82 that hadn't been released or anything like that or heard. And I used some of those riffs in, prime example is Strike Fast, Strike Hard, the opening track on Generation Antichrist. The chorus riffs are one back from 1982. So it's still incorporating the punk side of things into our metal these days, you know.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted it to be heavy. I mean, I always loved Sabbath, and Discharge are my favorite punk band, so they're real heavy punk from that side of things. So it has to be heavy for me.
True. You know, everything comes in cycles. You know, when the band came back around in 2005, 2006, 2007, metal was starting to make a little bit of a comeback. You know, the 90s were a rough time for a lot of bands. The next decade kind of like saw new bands coming out that were trying to recreate that classic 80s sound, a bunch of young kids. But then the veterans started making comebacks. They started doing what they always done. And some of them said, you know what, we're not going to write no new music because people don't want to hear it. We're just going to do the classics and go out there and play it. You guys didn't go that. You didn't take that route. You said, no, we're going to write new music and we're going to keep writing new music. And you've put out an amazing record since then. Does it get harder and harder with each record not to repeat yourself or not to try to do what you did before, but yet keep the band very similar and sound like?
No, I've never found it difficult, to be honest. We're not super prolific writing. We probably release an album every 3, 4, 5 years, but we don't release an album every year. I mean, that could become a problem I guess if we were turning out albums every 1 or 2 years, I think you might start kind of retracing your steps a little bit. But we came back with the intention, or the reason I came back. I mean, I took some persuading. The reason I came back was because of In Search of Sanity. I would say we're disappointed with that album and how it ended. I had to right that wrong for me personally. And with Kill in Peace, I think we made the album that In Search of Sanity should have been. And once we got that album out of the way, Kill in Peace, I think the path, we discovered the path, the new path of the next stage of Onslaught career. Things became pretty straightforward and simple for us, really. I think it was 3 years to the Sounds of Violence album, 3 to 4 years for Six. So I like to give myself a bit of breathing time when writing new stuff. Just, again, not to repeat yourself and to come up with lots of fresh ideas and to make the band sound relevant at that time and keep moving things forward. As you said earlier, each album seems to get more aggressive and heavier as we go, and that's my aim. Working on ideas now for the next follow-up to Generation Antichrist in terms of studio album, new music. So just finding my path where we're going to go with that one. But it's what I've got so far is kind of next step aggression again from Generation Antichrist.
I don't think people realize how much In Search of Sanity played on your mind all those years, because your whole reason for coming back was to kind of like right that wrong in your mind. And now, 20 something years since that point in time, or more than that, I mean, with Origins of Aggression, you were able to re-record a few of those tracks and give it to the way you wanted it to be. You've proved yourself over and over again with all these different records that, this is who Onslaught is. So do you think you finally could put that to bed and put it to rest? Because listen, as an old school fan, I actually like the record. I mean, I like Steve as Grim Reaper. I like what you guys did. I know it was a different sounding record and it wasn't what you wanted to be, but as a fan and as the decades go on, it grows on you more and more. So do you think you could finally put that behind you now and say, it is what it was, that's what it is, and here's where we are?
Not quite. it does haunt me, but as you say, I love the songs on the album. I'm never going to diss those songs, But the next plan for In Search of Sanity is to record the rest of the tracks and have the whole album done properly in real Onslaught style. So that's the next kind of project along with the next studio album. So that's once we get that whole album right, that's when I'll be happy and finally put to bed.
Well, hopefully it happens soon so you can move on from that. But wasn't there a demo of that record with Cy on vocals or tracks that were recorded with Cy singing back then?
Yeah, I wish I had a copy. I don't have a copy. I'm not sure if Cy has. I'll be speaking to him soon anyway, so I'm going to have to ask him. But I know he had one on a cassette, so the chances are the cassette may be damaged. I don't know, but I'm hoping that we can get it transferred onto something a little bit more safe than a tape.
Yeah. But were the cuts with Scion vocals more of what you wanted it to be at that time? Or did it change drastically from then until the record label got involved?
Yeah, I mean, Cy's vocals were pretty much as they were on the Force album, So you can imagine how much more aggressive that made the song sound. And it was a lot heavier and quite a bit dirtier than the finished version, So it was kind of way off from what it ended up as. And there were some different bits as well that got changed in production, which I'd like to hear again. So I really need to get hold of. It's my own fault. I don't keep things. I'm not a hoarder.
Yeah.
But a couple of the guys who were in the band, they had everything, all the posters, the demos, and everything. I feel kind of jealous that I didn't do that now. Kind of silly, but there you go.
Yeah. Over the decades, there's been a couple of offshoots of Onslaught with the Sanity Days and Insult with Steve and the other ones putting stuff together. Does that bother you these days that they're out there? I know the two of them are playing at some festival doing the whole Power from Hell, and you guys are out there doing the same thing. I mean, does that kind of get under your skin a little bit that they're doing it?
Well, it did for a while because they were doing some really stupid stuff, and I had to get cease and desist at one point But now I think maybe certain people are going to move on now with this Insult project they have. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. I would be happy for them to do well, you know, because I'm friends with a few of the guys in that band. So it would be nice for them to do well and kind of stay out of my way, because it's antagonistic. Some people, they just try to get at you just to wind you up and wind other band members up, and it's unnecessary. I mean, you have to move on in your life. I don't look backwards. I always look forwards, and I think now hopefully they're getting some good reviews on their stuff. So just move on and make your own career now.
Yeah, well, that's a record of original tunes, so I give them to them for that. But going out there doing the Onslaught stuff, that's something that seems to be becoming more and more common practice today with bands. You have a lot of groups out there with past members, ex-members, members that weren't even a part of the original lineup of that band, all former offshoots of the same band. That I can't help but think it's going to dilute the music and the legacy of that original band. Even if there's only one member left of the band, it's still that person's band.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really confused with the whole Venom thing at the moment. Because you've got a band going out playing stuff from Welcome to Hell and black metal who were nothing to do with that band.
Yeah.
At all. And I'm seeing, I know there's certain things going on behind the scenes, but I'd really love that band to get back together. I mean, if I can do any, I'm friends with all three of the guys, the original guys, so it would be nice for them. I think they should do it. I mean, they've obviously got some personal hurdles to get over, but I think it could be massive for them, and I would try and do my best to talk everyone round to do it, because I think it could be massive for them if those three guys got back together.
I agree. I say that all the time. You know what? We don't have a lot of time left here on this planet. We're all getting much older, so why not make it happen? Are you going to headline Madison Square Garden? Maybe not. But you're going to play some nice sized places, be able to take out a couple of great bands with you on that tour. And I know I've interviewed all three of them multiple times. They hate each other with a passion. They just do not like each other. They can't say nothing good if it killed them about each other. But, for the fans, sometimes you got to think about the fans. You could tolerate each other for a couple of months and go out there and do something. You're right. It would be amazing to see that happen.
Yeah, and Jeff told me, Mantis told me that if they go out, he's taking Onslaught with him.
Oh, that would be an amazing lineup.
Yeah.
What a show that would be.
Extra incentive for me to get them back together.
You have to keep working on it, But yeah, I know you guys got a tour coming up right now. I mean, what are the chances of getting back to the U.S. or anywhere else? Is it getting harder and harder to kind of like, branch out with the touring these days?
Well, we were due to come for Hell's Heroes this year, but our visas didn't arrive in time. So we had to pull that. The visas came through, I think, about a week later, which is typical. So we have visas in place now for 3 years. Just down to the agents now to get things going again. Hopefully we get invited back to do Hell's Heroes for 2026, which would be great. I'd love to do the Death Fest again. We did those. I think we did California and Maryland in 2022, I think. Yeah. And maybe Milwaukee too. So
that would be great. So many bands today want to focus strictly on the festivals. If they're not on the festival, they don't want to go out there and play. You have to go out there and play the clubs. You got to go out there and make yourself be heard. Is that the only way to do it today? Or can you survive with just playing festivals here and there? After a while, they run out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always advocate touring. Just because I love traveling. Then you get to play venues where people are right in your face, But you've got to be a different breed of person, different breed of musician to be able to cut the touring thing, I mean, I know so many great guys in bands who openly admit to want to be a weekend warrior. Now, it's nice playing festivals, but I don't think it's the same as doing full tours, So I'd always want to mix both up. It's great. I mean, we've got touring start for 3 weeks next week. Then we got a run of festivals across the summer, and then we start the touring cycle again. So it's nice to mix it up. I mean, I just love touring, so
Yeah, just from out down the road. Are you staying as a four piece right now? I know Wayne's out of the band at this point in time. Are you going to replace him with another guitar player?
Yeah. We're gonna be a five. So I prefer it that way. I think really. So
That'll be good. And as far as new music goes, I know you're working on it. The record really hasn't officially even come out yet. May 23rd is the official release date of the record. But what about
yeah,
the follow-up of the next original record? Is it something you're looking to kind of get out right away? Because this is a double record. This is going to tie people over for quite some time.
yeah. I mean, hopefully, if this record's successful, all things are pointing that way at the moment. So there's going to be some. Obviously, the rest of the year is going to be taken up with the 40th anniversary of Power from Hell touring. So in between, once this record's out tomorrow, I can kind of put that to bed and get my head around writing new songs then. Kind of can't multitask too much with music. I need to finish one cycle of one before I start the next. But having said that, I got the album title, I've got all the song titles, I've got the themes, loads of vocal ideas, tons of riffs in the bag. So it's just kind of start piecing everything together when we have some downtime now.
The new album on Rain and Phoenix Music, I mean, how important is a record label today to a band? Because we live in a different world where the labels don't have the power to control like they used to have back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. But you still need a label. I mean, a lot of bands do it on their own, but I don't think you can get the same reach without having that label. Is it important to still be on a label?
Oh, 100%. I mean, we've always been with a label, so we know no different. But I think with Rain and Phoenix, what they've shown in the short time that we've been with them, how important it is to have a good, strong, powerful label behind you. As I said, the press, what they've done for us on this album has been incredible. We've got so many reviews, so many interviews, and they've got a US office, I believe, European office. And I think maybe even a South American office. I'm not 100% on that one, but to have that worldwide network of contacts and distribution, if you decided to release your own record, you're not going to have that. And even though a lot of things are done obviously via streaming now, there's still a market for physical sales. Vinyl's made a decent comeback, and I believe CDs are starting to again as well. So it goes in cycles, but you need to sell these physical products. And like I said, the marketing is 100% key to everything. The videos, I mean, we're doing 3 videos for this album. There may be another one down the line later in the year. So, and it's a hell of a lot of finance you need to outlay if you're trying to self-finance a record release. So for me, record labels all the way.
Yeah. I agree. It's funny because vinyl kind of pushed the CDs to the side the last maybe 8 or 9 years. They made such a great comeback, and now the CDs are starting to like I said, the CDs are coming back in and take a little bit away from the vinyl. I don't think the vinyl is going to go anywhere again, but it's kind of eating away at the market for that too. We're only a couple of years away before they implant the songs right into our brains directly, and we don't need anything anymore. It just goes directly into the brain.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's the next step. But Nige, I'm not going to keep you, man. Origins of Aggression, May 23rd, the official release date. I'm waiting for the 40th anniversary of this record, and I'll be there front and center when we're doing it together. We'll be in our 90s, but we'll get there.
Cool, man.
All right, Nige. It was great talking to you. You have a nice night. I know it's much later where you are than here, so have a great night, my friend.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks, Mike. Really enjoyed talking to you, man.
You too, my friend. Bye-bye.
Take care, man.
search of sanity. In search of sanity. Lights take the mirror. No image of the truth to see. Time lost forever to the wastelands of insanity. Deep down inside I pray for the peace and freedom of the past. Is there no way out? Homeland and reason fading fast. Stand up and fight. Won't someone listen to me now? Stand up and fight. There's only one thing in my mind. I can't find my way out. No one sees what I see. This maze is a white line. In search of sanity. Through this dark and empty shell, sweet taste of freedom lies far inside the wishing well. The slope gets deeper now on the winding road to set me free. Inside this sorrow I seek a dream that just can't be. Stand up and fight. Won't someone listen to me now? Stand up and fight.
All right, there you go. The re-recorded version of "In Search of Sanity." Like I told Nige during that interview, I'm not a big fan of re-recorded albums. And talking about re-recorded albums, Manowar are at it again. I think this is the third one of the classic albums at the re-recording. Sign of the Hammer. You would think from the last two being as bad as they were, they wouldn't do another one, but they just keep fucking up those classic records by going out and re-recording them, and they just sound terrible. Eric is still a great singer, but he can't hit the notes that he did, 30 or 40 years ago. It's just leave it alone now. I mean, they haven't put out a new record of original material, I think, in about 14 or 15 years. So how about writing a new record? Maybe they just ran out of barbarian themes to write about. I don't know, but put out some new music instead of re-recording the old classics. I mean, it's ridiculous in my opinion. That's just that. But hopefully now Nige Rockett can sleep at night that he brought justice, at least his justice, to In Search of Sanity. All right, let me see. Do we have time for another song? No, I don't think so. We're going to get Phil Barbour from Spellbound on the line right now. Let me see if I can bring this up here. This is only the second time we're using this new phone service since Skype went out of business. So let me give it a shot. Hopefully it'll work again. We had luck a few weeks ago with this. Let's try it now.
Hello.
Phil, this is Mike calling for our interview. You're live on the air. How are you, my friend?
Hey, buddy. How's it going, man?
I'm doing great. Anybody time I get to talk to somebody from the New York, New Jersey area, I feel like I'm at home, which I am, so I'm happy.
Absolutely, right?
But listen, it's a pleasure to have you on here today. I know it was kind of last minute, so I appreciate you jumping in and taking the spot. Because we would have had you on eventually when the album came closer to the release date. But man, I am so happy that Jeremy found you guys and is doing some justice to that music because it deserves more than it got back in the day.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, it was pretty interesting the way the whole thing came about, I got a call from our engineer, actually, a guy by the name of Plinky, and he says, yeah, he says, I got a call from one of the guys in the record. I'm like, record? What the hell are you talking about? And sure enough, so we hooked up with Jeremy, and, man, it is what it is, and here we are. It's a couple of weeks away, actually. We should be, hopefully mid-June is when we're looking for the release, so,
That's going to be great. Hey, listen, when Plinky calls up, you got to respond.
Oh, well, that's it, man. Look, he's really good in his own right. You know what I mean? He's very, very respected. And I actually started working with him. We did an album with David Prater, which chances are will also be released. We're probably looking at maybe toward the end of the year with that. And Prater had produced Dream Theater, Firehouse. He was a big name back in the day. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so Plinky engineered that whole thing. We were in his studio, and then we finished that up in Bismo Studios out in Texas. So that was a lot of fun, man. That was real cool,
I'm great because, people deserve to hear this. I mean, there are a lot of young kids today that are into, this classic 80s rock and metal that, hearing it for the first time, and bands like you they're going to hear for the first time. Then you got people like me that remember you guys from back in the day and so excited that it's given a second breath of life. So, I mean, when you go back to the early days, how did it come about? I know it all started, I guess, from Misunderstood, I guess the remnants of that. But, how did this whole thing come together? What year did it actually start?
We started, it was probably maybe 1991, and I was looking around for a band for a while. I was playing with a bunch of guys, just on and off, trying to get shit together, and my uncle bought a boat. And the thing was a piece of garbage, man. It kept breaking down every week, So anyway, so he says, I got this boat mechanic. And I'm saying, yeah. I mean, my uncle was older. He's a little, yeah, okay, Uncle Paul, relax yourself. And he says, no, I got this boat mechanic. He's a good bass player. His brother sings, blah, blah, blah. And his brother, actually, Joe Mauer's brother was Rick Mauer. He was another 80s guy. He was a singer in a band called Push. And they were real popular in the area. I don't know if you remember them or not. But yeah. So, I mean, So anyway, I said, you know what? I said, I'll go down and check these guys out. I mean, I know that they were doing some punk stuff, and it was, like, the songs were like, she's retarded. I mean, it wouldn't have flown today. You know what I mean? It was really bizarre, man. But I was like, all right, what the hell? I got nothing to lose. Let me go down there. And these guys were on it, man. I mean, for that style of music, again, like I wanted to go mainstream, typical 80s stuff. And like I said, man, for what these guys were doing, like, wow, I was really impressed. So I said, you know what? Yeah, man, I'll definitely join up, And we gigged around the area quite a lot, man, under Misunderstood, and did a bunch of punk shows. And then I said to them, I was like, look, guys, I'm really kind of looking to do, more of a mainstream 80s kind of thing. I had already found our singer, and I saw him one night at a party. And this guy, man, his voice was just phenomenal. I was blown away, man. I was like, you know what? Wow. And for me, that's the key. Any of the old 80s stuff, like, you need good guitars, but you also need a great vocalist, man, to, push it along. You know what I mean? And so once I met him, it was like, wow, man, we hit it off. He was into the same things I was. So I was like, look, I want to put a band together, blah, blah, blah. So I had asked Joe Mallard, the bass player, and then the drummer, Billy Reed. I said, look, man, this is what I want to do. Can we do it? And yeah, lo and behold, they were real into it and stuff, man. So that's basically how we formed from Misunderstood, I got to say though, man, like in hindsight, like I dedicated all our time to Spellbound, and I kind of wish, like, because Misunderstood, man, they were fun gigs. They were fun gigs, man, because again, we were doing a bunch of punk stuff, and the crowds, man, like, they were stage diving, and I remember one kid landed on his head, and they had to stop the show. I mean, it was brutal, man, but it was a lot of fun. You know what I mean? It was great, great stuff. So, can't complain.
So I can imagine, like, when you first went in to meet these guys, to join that band Misunderstood, at that point in time, were you still looking to make a mainstream band, which is, getting radio airplay, getting commercial airplay, because that's the only way you're going to make it and have success and make money and be a big band in the business.
Absolutely.
So when they come
yes,
to
and I had...
she's retarded and molest my mother or something, what do you say? I can just see your face saying, that's not going to get on KTU, that's not going to get on WNEW.
Yeah, I mean, I had a talk with Joe, but beforehand, and I told him my intentions, and I was like, look, man, I have a singer. I go, I know you guys are looking for a guitarist, but what I want to wind up doing is doing, this 80s mainstream radio play stuff, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, man, that's cool. So again, I mean, I just wanted to get a feel for the band, a feel for the guys, see how the bass player was, see how the drummer was. And again, since they needed somebody right away, they had shows booked and stuff. I was like, you know what? I'll come in, man. We'll play. We'll have fun. It was all about having fun and a good time, But again, when it came to like the serious stuff, that's when I kind of said to them, listen, man, I mean, all right, this is fun and all, but I really want to start on, my own thing and start doing, getting radio play and everything else. And, so unfortunately, like I said, we disbanded Misunderstood, and like I said, man, in hindsight, we could have actually kept both of them going, I think, But at that time, man, we were kind of really eager to get something going, and I really wanted to get something going as soon as possible, and didn't really want to put any time into anything else except focusing on getting a contract and getting radio play.
Sure, I completely understand that. Back then too, it wasn't common for guys to be in two different bands. It wasn't. Now today you have guys that are playing 5 or 6 bands, whether they're cover bands, original bands. It wasn't common back then. You really had to dedicate your time to being in that one band. And you're talking about like an 80s sounding band, but it was like 91. We were only like 2 years removed from the 80s, and the scene was still strong back then. You guys came out, by the time you got things going, things just collapsed. They imploded upon themselves like a year or so later.
Yeah. I mean, that was it, man. I mean, we had when we did, Second Sight, okay, which was the one that we do with Prater, and we did Chapter 11, which is the release that's coming up in a few weeks. Now, when we went in to do Second Sight with Prater, it was like he was brought in to kind of make it a little bit more radio friendly, more airplay ability, because we were going into a heavier direction. I mean, it's funny because, we all love the songs on Chapter 11, but, we had a couple of ballads on there, which worked. Hey, man, that's cool. But we all kind of wanted to go in a little heavier, like I said, direction. And you'll hear that on the bonus tracks because the bonus tracks are definitely, they're definitely heavier. They're definitely more of where we kind of wanted to be. And right after we kind of finished with Prater, and we were ready to do everything, all of a sudden, man, like, Nirvana came out, and that was it. And, Jeremy and I from the record company had a long talk about that. And it's like, okay, yeah, the music changed, but let's face it, man. I mean, grunge didn't kill this, but it was like, it was inevitable, man. They were if you had long hair and you had an instrument, they were signing you, whether you were any good or not. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of the problem. I mean, there was hair metal bands coming up, every other week. There was somebody new that was coming out, so the market was really oversaturated, I think. So
That's what happened. I say the same thing. Like when grunge came out, there was like grunge killed metal. It put a dent in it because it was a new thing and there was a new audience and it was very similar to metal in some bands in a certain way. But like I was like, what happened to the 40 million metal fans that were out there and the 40 million rock fans that were out there the day before? Did they all just like give up and say, well, Nirvana fans now, well, Pro? They didn't just give up. It just kind of, I don't know if they got embarrassed or just went underground. I have no idea what happened, but I didn't go nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. I mean, again, like, it was like, look, if the music is good, if the songwriting is good, people are going to listen to it, man, regardless of what the hell it is, And I think a lot of people were just getting fed up with, like, again, like, all right, who are these guys? You got a new MTV guy, and here's a guy with 12-foot hair and stuff like that. And some of these bands actually had some good songs. I mean, man, I can't tell you how many bands that I had found that way. It's like, and I start talking to people about them now, and they're like, who? What? And nobody really remembers them. But there were a lot of good bands. But again, there were a lot of bands that were just kind of signed because, yeah, man, all right, you look good. We're going to put you on the cover of the album, so...
That's how it was. But talking about Spellbound's music, a lot of those songs were very progressive. They sort of brought me back to like Fate's Warning and Dream Theater and a good mix of that with like an original sound that you guys had going on. And I really thought there was so much happening with the band. But like I said, it was just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The scene had changed on you guys, and I'm sure that took a toll on it. But after Chapter 11 comes out, I mean, how much longer does the band go on after that before you realize it just ain't gonna happen?
Well, I mean, we were touring for a while on, for Chapter 11, and we had released it ourselves, and the sales were actually really good. They were much better than we had expected. But we realized that, all right, man, because again, we wanted to go in a heavier direction, and we realized, listen, we need somebody to kind of steer the ship. I mean, we had great management, we had a good lawyer at the time, so it was like, all right, man, but I wanted a good producer that I thought would maybe bring us to the next level, So back then, man, like Firehouse was the big band, and Dream Theater had just done, Images and Words, and that was a fantastic album. I mean, we were all really into that, and I was into the guitar sounds, man, So there's a little bit of like me personally, like, yeah, man, guitar's where it's at, so that's one of the reasons, why I wanted to really get Prater in, because, I mean, he was just, like I said, man, his guitar sounds on the Firehouse album, I mean, it sounded great. Obviously, Petrucci's sound sounded great, so that's kind of what we were looking for, and when we spoke to the band, it was like, all right, but now we have to see if we can make this happen. And lo and behold, man, I mean, our management was fantastic and was able to make that happen. So that was great,
Yeah, and that's what you're looking for, and that's what you need. It's very hard to find people you could trust in this business, and when you do, you kind of got to stick with them. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I remember Jeremy was giving me some info, and he's telling me a story about Candy, this girl Candy, who kind of got you guys going. And I'm saying to myself, this is what friggin' rock and roll is all about. This is what music is all about. A girl comes into the picture and pays for everything. The guys just sit back and
yeah, man. I mean, really, yeah.
Where's my candy? Where's my candy? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it was the craziest thing. Like, when we were going to do Chapter 11, it was like, look, we were all broke, man. I mean, we were working like basic jobs and stuff like that. And we kind of knew that, all right, we need money to get into the studio. And I don't even remember who knew who, but somebody had introduced us to this chick, Candy. She was a little bit older, and she had some type of like accent, and she said that she was the singer of the band Rock Candy. Okay, now, there was no internet to verify that back in the day. Guys that I had asked around, like, nobody really heard of this chick or whatever, but she was like, listen, I want to put you guys in the studio. And, we were very upfront, like, look, we don't have any money yet, and she's like, no, I'll take care of it. She's like, I know a guy who owns a studio. He's renting space out of Earthquake Studios. And the guy turned out to be Stephen Missile, who was, I think, Billy Idol's, like, first drummer on his first or second album or something. And he had a studio. He was renting space. So it was all true, man, And, we're all kind of looking at each other, scratching our heads like, all right, well, what do you want out of the deal, And she was like, well, let's just get you in the studio and put together. I'm thinking, well, if she's like looking to hook up with one of the guys, we'll throw it a Billy,
That's what I was going to ask you. Does somebody have to sleep with her to get that far?
Yeah. Like that. And Billy, that would have been it, man. He was like, yeah, I'll go for it, And so anyway, so yeah, man. I mean, she wound up, she was like, listen, I'll set it all up. And, we're kind of thinking, yeah, all right, this broad's probably full of shit, but whatever, man. You know what I mean? We had nothing to lose. I mean, I wanted it to be legit. Like, I wanted to do, some contractual stuff. So this way, she didn't get screwed or anything like that, because any money that we made, we would have obviously paid her back. I mean, we were going to do things, on the up and up, but it was like, yeah, man. I mean, right away, she like put us into the studio. She got in touch with Stephen Missile. We called him. And in the beginning, man, I mean, everything was working fine. Like, all the sessions we did with this guy, she paid for and hadn't asked for anything. We hadn't agreed on any points for the album, nothing like that. And then, man, all of a sudden, like, we were ready to do mix downs, and Steve had said to us, listen, guys, got a little bit of a problem with the cash flow. And it was like, oh shit, And he's like, yeah, Candy's having some problems coming up with some payments and shit like that. And, and then when we talked to her, she's like, oh yeah, guys, no problem. I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. And then like a couple of weeks went by, man, and she just split. Nobody knew where this chick went, man. I mean, it was like we had the numbers for her, trying to get a hold of her. We knew where she worked, and because it turns out she was a waitress. And I don't know if she was like taking her tip money to pay for us, man. And to this day, Mike, I still have no idea like what that whole thing was about. I mean, it's just crazy the way shit like that happens. Yeah. I mean, like I said, and I feel bad, man. I mean, Candy, if you're listening out there, hey, honey, give me a call. I'd like to compensate you somehow,
Oh, God.
And
it's like a Xanadu type of thing, where the music just comes.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We're all scratching our heads going, what the hell? But, to be honest with you, though, that really killed our momentum. I mean, because, like, again, like we, now we have somebody who's putting up the money for us, so we're kind of getting comfortable. We're still working in the studio, and we're going as fast as we can because, we don't want to waste, time is money, money is time, blah, blah, blah. We don't want to waste anything. And then when Steve said, yeah, man, we're not going to be able to do mix downs, we kind of panicked. We went into panic mode. It was like, oh, what the hell are we going to do? Because we really hadn't focused on playing live because, again, our thing was let's have product in hand so when we do the live gigs, we got something to shop. You know what I mean? We got something to sell. So anyway, so that's what we wound up having to do is going out playing live. I mean, in the interim, I wound up borrowing some money, and I at least was able to buy our 2-inch master. So this way it didn't get recorded over, and we held on to it. You know what I mean? And then after we raised a little bit of money from doing some gigs, we wound up, I ran into somebody who knew this guy, Joe Santucci, that was closer to us. I mean, because Earthquake Studios, man, was like up in North Jersey, and we're in Central. So you got to figure, man, that was probably almost 2 hours away. Yeah. So anyway, so Joe Santucci was pretty close here, and he was a good guy. He had basically worked at A&M for a while. He was a house engineer there at the record company. He had his own studio thing going on. So we wound up taking the album there and doing, the final mix down and the production and stuff. So, that's how that worked. Although, and, it's funny because this is all basically in the liner notes on the album, but Joe Mauer was always there, with me. I mean, because I would go down and we would do, producing and, I would work with Joe Santucci and Joe Mauer would be with me. Well, Joe Santucci starts saying, we have a song, Forgotten Soldier, okay? And there's some sound effects in there, tanks, guns, shit like that. Joe Mauer heard this the library that Joe Santucci had, man, and it was like, uh-oh, because, right away, he's like, let's try this, let's try that, and then next thing you know, man, hours have gone by, and it's like the bill's going up, and Joe's like a kid in a candy store,
I can
So, yeah, man, so that was, so like I said, that's how, we wound up finalizing the album down there,
Yeah, so many bands that go into the studio for the first time, especially when they're younger. They like, we got this much money, we'll go in there and we'll record their songs. They don't realize they got to mix it afterwards, and there's more hours involved in that, more money involved in that. You think like, I saved up my money, we don't have to record, but I mean that must have been terrifying when you realize that there was no money left. You might lose all of that music that you just put your heart and soul into and record. Did anybody think about going to a different diner and trying to sleep with a different waitress to get them to pay for the mixing?
That would have been on Billy. That would have definitely been on Billy, man.
A lot of diners in New Jersey, it's the state of diners. You could have found another girl or a guy.
That's it. I mean, we all had steady girlfriends at the time, so it was like, and Billy was just signing, so we threw everything on Billy. I mean, and it's funny because my girlfriend at the time is now my wife, and I mean, she would have hit me with a frying pan. Yeah, that would have been it, man.
Yeah, I get that. I hear you on that one. But it was a great recording. But it's like I said, the '90s are moving on now. Did you try to shop that around to labels, see what you could get out of it?
We did shop it around. We actually, and Prater had pushed for us for Second Sight, which was the other one, because again, like we got past Chapter 11, we released it on our own. I forget how many hundreds of copies we had, but we sold out of it, so that was great. But again, it was time to kind of move on and get a little heavier, get better with the production, because again, like this album, I mean, it was great. I won't say anything bad about it, but you can tell it was a very, very novice type of recording. I mean, there's a lot of reverb on it, stuff like that, on the overall mix. Because at the time, that's pretty much, man, like the bands we were listening to, that was pretty much like where they were going, and we were like, yeah, okay, man, this is cool, But when we got with Prater, things definitely changed. I mean, he had shopped it around to a couple labels in Sweden, and we were working with them back and forth. The problem we were having was publishing, man, because a lot of times we would get the contract, and our lawyer was Wallace Collins, who was up in New York City, and I met him at a BMI / ASCAP meeting that we used to attend. They would have them, I think, like every couple of months in various locations throughout New York. And we met him, great guy, fantastic guy. And again, man, they were pretty fair with everything, but it was like they were holding back publishing. And he was like, yeah, man, that's your bread and butter, so you need to get some type of points there. And at the time, like I had a house, man, so like I just couldn't give up everything and go on the road and make like $200 a week. Like that wasn't going to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that was, like I said, that was really, really a tough one, man, for us to be able to swallow it, I mean, we got offers, man, from quite a few different, but like the offers, like we had a buyout clause, and it was like so much money over just, if we had like one song that was a hit that was generated within the top 10 or the top 20, and they wanted X amount of dollars over that just to be able to sell that to another label or something. So it was kind of weird, man, like the offers that we got,
The whole business is weird. It's like when they sell your mortgage after you buy a house. It's no different. And people don't realize that if you're going for if you're going to be in a band and you're looking to get radio airplay and become a big band, a radio band, you have to have that publishing. It's more, look at Skid Row. They signed it all over to Bon Jovi to get that first record.
Yeah.
They're probably kicking themselves in the ass today that they did that. I mean, they're okay. They made their money, but nothing compared to what he made off that record.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. And like I said, I mean, I was in a situation where, I had kind of just inherited a house, and I'm like, all right, well, now I got mortgage payments and stuff, and like, again, man, I couldn't just play for $100 or $200 a week or something. That wasn't going to fly, So it was like, and Wallace kept saying, listen, guys, I really honestly believe that a better contract will come along. And, we were able to negotiate basically everything for most of these guys, except when it came to the publishing, which again, man, I mean, it was weird. I guess maybe not for the time, but, remember, Nirvana was just starting to kind of explode and become popular, and that whole new wave of music was coming in. So I don't know what the thinking was with the record companies. I have no clue, but that's how it was.
Their clue is to jump on the next fad, sign as many
Yeah,
bands as they can.
absolutely. Whatever's going to make the money.
Yeah, and whether you're a part of that fad or not, they're going to turn you into that. It was like in the 80s. Every band all those underground bands that came up struggling, that managed to get signed to major labels, those labels wanted them to be something different. They didn't want Raven to be Raven. They wanted Raven to be Def Leppard. They didn't want Twisted Sister to be this band. They wanted them to be that band. They want to mold them into whatever's going to make them more money. It's not about anything else but making the money for them. That's it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then who kind of suffers? And you know what? Look, again, man, like Chapter 11, we were radio friendly, you know what I mean? Without a doubt. I mean, like I said, when we did, Second Sight with Prater, we were a lot heavier. And Prater's job, again, was to come in and kind of make us more radio friendly. And I have a feeling when we do release this next one, I was discussing with Jeremy, because we have all our pre-production stuff that we did of the heavier sides of the songs. And what I'd like to do is put it out there, because, we had a lot of fans who were like, what the hell is this? Because again, playing live, we were going in that heavier direction. So when they heard, the Prater stuff, it was like, what, a lot of people were shaking their heads, man, and there were also some, new fan base that we got, because again, it was more radio friendly, So what I want to do is basically take those songs in the heavy version, and then take those songs that were done by Prater, put them on one album, one release, back to back, and then just, let everybody else decide, man,
Yeah, that's a great way to
That's
do it.
it.
To you, was it mostly Prater's participation in the band that changed the sound of the music a little bit, or was it just also the change in times, where music was changing at that point in time? Was it a combination of both?
I think more than it definitely was Prater's influence that kind of changed the sound of the band. And, we had some conflicts, man, within the guys. I mean, some of the guys kind of liked it, and some of them were like, yeah, I don't like where we're going. I mean, Prater on Chapter 11, we have a song called Mysterious Lady, which is an acoustic song, Dago and I doing backup vocals and stuff like that. It's fast song, blah, 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 nice and pretty. It's 2 minutes. Well, we wound up on Second Sight, we wound up making that a full-blown 5-minute tune. Drums, the whole 9 yards. There's tons of guitars on electric guitars and everything. That I really kind of liked, because it's almost like we took an idea that was on Chapter 11 and kind of finished it on Second Sight. And really made it, again, man, production was huge on it, and that was cool. But we also had some heavier stuff that Prater really kind of changed, and it changed like the whole feel. Now, again, remember, this is the time when what Nirvana and everything is changing, so the music is kind of it's. Nobody's really sure, because nothing's set in stone at this point. And I guess, because we were working with an A&R guy at that point from a label, and they were like, well, listen, this is what we want. And this is basically what we pitched to Prater. And, and that's what we got. But the thing of it is, too, is that, working with Prater, I mean, let me tell you something, man. He was on the road for 6 months doing Night Ranger. Right after Night Ranger, okay, he came to do... He did what the hell is it? Change of Seasons with Dream Theater, which was right here in New York. And then as soon as he left that, he came to us. So he hadn't been home. His home base was in Texas, man, and he hadn't been home in literally months and months. So he was pretty stressed out, man. You know what I mean? So that's why, we wound up finishing the album in Bismo Studios out in Texas. So I actually flew down with him. I brought my stuff, all my equipment, and I flew down, and I lived with him for almost a month to finish the whole album, but it was a much better atmosphere, much better attitude. Things just kind of worked really, really well from that point on,
Yeah. Well, that's always a good thing. But, and as the years go on now, when does it finally end? I mean, when do you guys say, you know what, we're done?
Well, I mean, it was probably maybe like 2000, like probably 1999, I would say, where it was like, all right, you know what, we're really not getting anywhere. I mean, the clubs were starting to change with the music, and nobody wanted to hear a lot of this stuff anymore, especially around here. I mean, and that's one thing, man. There were some fantastic clubs here to play. We were like with the house band for a while at the Playpen over here, and we did the Trade Winds, the Stone Pony, the Rock Horse. We played a million times. All these places. Now all of a sudden, man, like they don't want to hear a lot of that stuff. I mean, it's more of this grunge stuff that's coming up. So again, it was probably about 98, 99, and basically it kind of ended. We had some issues with the band, some of the members, and substance issues and stuff, and that was really a hard thing to kind of swallow. I mean, watching some of your band members go through that, and not being able to help and putting the time in and stuff like that. And like I said, that's really when it was like, all right, I see the writing on the wall here. Yeah, this is not good. So
Yeah. At that point in time, I mean, is it hard to walk away from something that you put a whole decade of your life into, or do you say, you know what, it's kind of a relief because I can see where things are going to be going, maybe with the band members and the whole business?
Oh yeah, I mean, for quite some time, yeah. I mean, I was kind of like bitter on the whole thing, you know what I mean? Because again, it's like, you put all your time into it, and you put everything you have into it, and you're hoping that it's going to get, and it never really it never really plateaus. You know what I mean? Like you're there and you're almost there, and it's like yeah, and then boom, something happens, and now you get knocked down a peg. But we were able to pretty much, like I said, overcome, most every obstacle except for, like, again, I would have kept going on, but seeing like I said, the substance stuff going on within the band, and we were having some real major issues. It was like, you know what, man, I'm done. I've had enough of this, I mean, I looked around to try to find a bunch of guys and stuff like that, and then I got married and all kinds of stuff went on. So it was like, yeah, right. But I mean, I never stopped playing though. That was the thing. Like I still play. I play every day to this day. I still gig every once in a while. If I'm playing with this guy or that guy. Right now, man, we've been looking for a drummer for I can't tell you how long to kind of continue and going on. But man, it's not like it used to be with the musicians. You were able to find somebody and like, boom, and within a week you'd have a new musician. And nowadays and you know what, man, for some reason or another, I swear to God, man, I'm not making this up. I really like the drummers that come to us. I think that like their wives or their girlfriends are upstairs and they're listening to the guy play in the basement downstairs going, yeah, honey, you sound good. You should go find a band. And then they come to us. I swear to God, man, because it's like, I mean, we give them 5 seconds here, man. Just learn these songs and come back to it. And then, did you learn this song? Well, I know of them. Well, what do you mean you know of them? Yeah, man. It's so bad. It's so bad. Holy Jesus.
Drummers are the new lead singers. That's the problem.
That's it, man. That's it. And again, the guy. I mean, I got a bass player now, Phil McCullough. I've been working with him for years and years. He's like an Entwistle, man. I mean, the world could come down around him, and he's just standing there playing, man. You know what I mean? Like just steady as a rock. Like, so again, man, it's very, very beneficial to be able to find good players, man, with a good attitude. It's like I said, man, it's not like it was back in the day when that was, they were a dime a dozen, nowadays, forget it.
And it is, we're all older now too, and everything gets in the way. You got family, you got kids, you got jobs, so it does get harder for some people, but you can still commit yourself to playing here and there and going out and doing the show. But like 25 years later, after Spellbound broke out, now you have this album coming out. You're gonna have the second one coming out. You think you can find the guys to put together to maybe do something with Spellbound again, whether it's new music or just going out there and playing the classics?
You know what? I would not be. I would actually love to do something like that. But the big thing is finding a vocalist. I mean, who can actually do that. Yeah, because Dago had this voice, man, that, and, I mean, it's funny because as time went on, his voice kind of got a little away from him. But like when Dago was in his prime and his heyday, like, he used to rehearse in the car going up to the studio. And I used to have to leave him and tell him to shut the hell because he was so loud and so powerful. Nothing was falsetto. Everything was full voice. And this guy, man, just had this natural vibrato. And it was just, like I said, when I first heard him sing, I was blown away. I was floored. I was like, oh, man, where'd this guy come from, And I have not really found many singers who can really kind of do that. You know what I mean? I mean, I would sit down with him with a guitar, and we would come up with, song after song. At the end of the day, we'd have 5, 6, 7 songs written, or at least ideas and pieces, So that, if we could find, if I could find that again, I would absolutely do it in a heartbeat,
I hope that happens. Hey, Phil, I could talk to you forever, man, but we only got like 10 minutes left in the show, and I want to get on some music before we wrap it up tonight. But I'll tell you what, when the next record comes out, come back on, and we'll keep the story going, and we'll talk for another hour. I'll make you the only guest.
Absolutely, man.
The whole 2-hour show, but man, I'm so happy that people are going to hear this music again. It's been a long time for a lot of people. It'll be the first time for a lot of young people. I mean, this could be the beginning of a new life for Spellbound. You never know.
That's it. We'll keep our fingers crossed, man. As long as everybody's having fun and a good time, that's what it's about, man. So.
That's the truth. That's all that matters. But Phil, have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we're going to do this again soon, my friend. Thank you very much for being on here tonight.
Sounds good, Mike. It was good talking to you. Take care.
You too. Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, let's get on some stuff. I didn't realize, when you have a great guest, you could talk to like that, like two friends bullshitting. Didn't think it was going to go on forever, but we ran out of time, and I got to wrap it up. So let's get on some Spellbound, and we'll try to squeeze in maybe one more summertime song before we wrap things up here tonight. Here's Second Sight.
It comes to me at times like
I mean, they were so good. Pick up the record. It'll be out in a few weeks on Heaven Hell Records. Jeremy always does a great job of putting out these records, and hopefully we will get the second one by the end of the year. I want to thank Phil and Nige for being on tonight's show. I want to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day. Don't forget, this is all about the men and women who gave their lives to protect this country and defend us. It's all about them. So when you're having your cold beer and your hot dogs and hamburgers, think about them and what they contributed to this world. All right. Oh, wait, there's no show next week. I think I mentioned last week. No show next Sunday night. I have a family affair to go to, and I'm not rushing out of there to come back here and do a show. But the week after that, we're back live like always. Tyler Gray from Midnight Vice is our guest. Brian Sheehan from Stretcher, a great 80s thrash metal band. We'll be talking to both of them live the week after next. So everybody have a great weekend. How about we wrap it up with a little summertime music, because this is the official kickoff of summertime. Even though it doesn't feel like it here in the New York area. It's been cold, damp, and raining nonstop for the last 3 weeks. It's taken me forever to get my backyard open. My pool is just glistening, waiting for it to get a little warmer for me to get in there. So let's think about those nice warm summertime days with Summertime Girls from Y&T. Take care, everybody. Have a great night, and I'll see you in 2 Sundays.